getting right on with it. This is Age of the Primes Prima Prime. There's gotta be one iteration of Optimus Prime that does the James Bond intro. You know what I mean, the Bond. James Bond. Or I guess in that case it would be Prime. Optimus Prime. But this is Prima. The first Transformer made by Primus. And I'm sure if you asked him about it, he would be very happy to tell you about it in abundant detail. Imagine he's like the older twin that was born like a few minutes earlier, but wouldn't shut up about it, and like he's not the biggest one, but he's, I guess, the oldest. And probably the most boring, judging just by the color scheme. Because it's gray. And it's gray. Does he blend in? He almost outdulls Megatron. If it weren't for these nice blue highlights, I'd say he'd have absolutely nothing going on. Although that helmet is, I guess, a fashion statement. With, like, ears on the outside of it? I'm guessing those are ears. But overall, I think this guy's pretty cool. Like, I got him out of the box and I went, oh, that feels like a solid action figure. Not in those words, you know. I'm like, oh. That's my first instinct of grabbing him. Like, oh. Okay. So let's get a closer in shot of that head sculpt for the thumbnail. Certainly has the visage of a anime protagonist, I guess. Nice, calm blue eyes. Even though when you think about it, temperature-wise, blue is hotter than red. But as a color, we associate blue with like water and relaxing things. When electricians and artists are opposed at the color blue. And you just have a small backpack. It kind of gives away what the alt mode is. But it's the only, well, not the only semblance of alt mode on his back. He's got some tires up in there. But I do kind of like how his body turned out. Like, just the proportion and the way everything looks. The arms have a nice, like, armored look because of the folding of the panels. I really like that. And his shorts do look like they have a face sculpted into them, with particularly placed blue paint apps that totally don't look like eyes, and maybe some more faces on his knees. Articulation wise is very good. Head is on a ball joint and has a lot of great range. Like, you can look all the way up. You can rotate all the way around. And there's a little bit of wiggle side to side. Shoulders are a bit awkward. Like, the shoulder armor looks really cool, and it tries to flow naturally. But the operative word is try, because it doesn't quite succeed. So forwards and backwards, it stays right on the shoulder, which is nice. And you don't really get a butterfly joint It can go backwards a little bit, but that's more just disengaging the backpack for the transformation. That's not actually a joint itself. It's just kind of untabbing. But going outwards, oh no. You immediately see where the armor fails. Because you can just do that. It's just not connected at all. Well, it is connected physically, but not visually. And you can go for this kind of look, which does look natural. But, yeah. You can make his armor do that and expose his naked shoulders. And the joint, which is right there. And with it, he can barely go 90 degrees. It kind of looks like 89 degrees. And you can't really cover it up with the shoulder pad either. You can only cover it up to there. The bicep swivel works as a mushroom peg. I feel like this was the best they could do with the look of the shoulder armor. Like, to make it look the way it does, sometimes you have to sacrifice functionality, or the functionality is there, but it ends up looking the way it looks. But works way better is the elbow, beyond 90 degrees. And you do have a wrist ball joint, but it doesn't have much motion. It has like that much side to side. And more crucially for a swordsman like Prima, it doesn't have much up and down. It's like 1 degree maybe. And you have fingers, and they're the standard don't look great fingers. It's not the worst. I have seen worse, but it is just one hinge. They look kind of straight, but not really. Waist kind of looks like it'd be hindered by the backpack, but no, it goes as far as it wants to, which isn't a full. No, you can move the backpack slightly out of the way, and preferably not untab it, to get a full waist rotation. He also has what appear to be joints above it that are unusable in this mode. But the hip skirts definitely move out to allow for dynamic kicking motion, as demonstrated by going forward first. And backwards, you have to move the backpack or move around the backpack to get access to that, but outwards, yep, you do get beyond 90 degrees. And they flow better with the leg than the shoulder armor does. But you do... Why a butt? Why not a butt? You have a thigh swivel. That is quite tight on mine, both sides. I believe this one has come off once. Like that. But it did it on its own as I was just twisting it. The knees bend, and you can bend them forward a little if you prefer Robotech chicken mech look. They bend beyond 90 degrees on a single hinge, which is nice. And you have a forwards and backward, nah, not backwards, but definitely forwards ankle, along with a very deep pivot. So yeah. Posability feels good. Nothing's loose, for once. Nothing's really overly tight. Things are like good, like that good level of tightness where you don't feel like you're going to break it, but it's also not loose. I did think that his ball jointed neck was going to be loose out of the package because he was packaged like with his head up. And I thought, oh, he's probably going to have a floppy ball joint because it probably moved up. But no, it's solid. So let's get him compared with his siblings. Solus and Megatronus. That's all 3 primes released in Wave 1. I think that's a good variety of looks. One mad bastard, one tiny woman, and kind of a regular dude. But we have one accessory, basically, and that's the legendary Star Saber. No, not him. This. It's a good-looking sword. I wish the silver paint that was on the blade trickled down into the handle, which has Prima's unique logo on it, but it's so small the camera can't really pick it up that well. It's there. If you're familiar with Titan's Return, Prima appeared twice. Not Titan's Return. Power of the Primes. Prima appeared twice. In like a throne, I believe, and a 2-pack with Punch Counter Punch. I've never gotten. But it came out of the package separated. And you can kinda plug the sword into the bottom. It is translucent plastic with a bit of flex. It's got a peg on one side and a smaller peg with some possibly familiar looking grooves on the other side. And that is because the other half of the accessory is stored in his chest. He comes with not the Matrix of Leadership, but the Origin Matrix, which is kind of a pain in the ass to get out of his chest. There we go. And it is the same mold as the War for Cybertron Matrix, but painted silver to be the first version of it. And if you notice these grooves I mentioned earlier, that is where it goes. So you can have a proper super-powered sword, which he does hold very nicely and has the articulation range to bonk himself in the head with it. Is that good or bad? You decide. And now, I don't know what it would do powered up with the Matrix, but possibly light our darkest hour? And you do have some spots to place it. One I like is on the forearm, and this is very smart. The engineering team, or whoever designed the shoulders and the sword, create a divot in the armor, just the right size for it to sit comfortably there. Although it's not really nestled in it, it's hovering like just above it. But now he has an arm blade. Baraka. You could you force a Baraka crossover out of this guy? I don't know. Do we even want that, judging by how bad the Street Fighter crossovers were? Yeah, I said it. Come at me. But the one place the instructions tell you to put it is on the backpack. Just hang it off there, which not that big a fan of. He could technically reach it, so it's a functional back scabbard. But I watched too much sellsword arts to know that rear-mounted hilt's not the best thing. You could technically use, this is a bit of spoilers, but something will show off in vehicle mode if you want to hang off directly off his back. No, I think it looks good. Nope. Have to have the pointy bit or the cut facing downwards. Now we shall transform him, and that is almost a Herculean effort, I want to say. His transformation is a tiny bit of a pain in the ass. So let's start by unfolding these panels, which you fold out like that. Rotate the wrist in and then rotate at the bicep. So it looks like that. Do the same thing. Come on, where are you? The other side. Now we're going to untab this entire thing. And we'll leave it there. Now we come to the chest. And make sure we have enough room. The armature the backpack is on has got to be down completely to rotate his waist. Fold out the wheels. And he does, weirdly, have that joint which does nothing in either mode. You can't access it in robot mode, I think, because the backpack is tabbed in. And it does nothing like in vehicle mode. Like, why? But you fold his head down. And we'll come to this whole mess. Fold that. We'll come back to this. So head down to Legsville. We're going to fold the wheels out of his legs. And then fold the feet. And the feet are actually going to tab in the back of his leg where the wheels were tabbed in. And then you want to tab the legs together, but it's a channel connection. So instead of just tabbing, they slide in. Which is important when you're removing them. You want to slide out instead of trying to rip them apart. Now we're going to hinge the legs all the way until the feet go under the backpack. And now we can rotate the wheels so in their proper configuration. And now what I'd say is the most annoying point. We have to get the arms into these holes, into that little tab there, and there's a tab on the leg itself. And it doesn't feel intuitive. Like, that's how it is kind of supposed to look. But, like, yeah. Part of me doesn't like that. Because not only does it create a gap between the feet and the backpack, it creates gaps. Oh my god. Yeah, that's close enough. And then we're gonna just tab the bumper in. And preferably, I think it wants you to just leave it alone at this point, but I can't. I can't stop wanting to adjust it to, like, make it closed. And, like, other little things are misaligned and don't feel right, and then just... Like, I end up spending way too much time fiddling with it. I think, is that where the shoulder pad... No, the shoulder pads don't move. Like, I want it to be perfect, but it feels like it doesn't want to be perfect. Oh. The arms, that's it. The arms are supposed to go above what is the chest panel. And I think we're there, even though it makes me want to keep adjusting. And oh my god, nothing like wants to properly tab in. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like that, otherwise I'll be here all night. And this alt mode is, well, it's a thing. It's a lunar truck, is what I've seen it described as. Is that supposed to be like Cybertronian truck, or like actually supposed to be like a lunar vehicle? I guess it works. Besides the obvious issue. Hello. And all like the tiny issues of like micro adjustments I keep wanting to make on it. It is amusing to me that he would base his alt mode on a lunar rover, something designed to look for aliens. And before you say anything, I know that's not what it's for. I'm stretching the truth for the point of a joke. But would you believe me if I said this wasn't the only lunar-based alt mode? Yeah. Him. I kind of want to get that one day. Because it feels like a better alt mode than this. It feels like Prima has the same problem Solus did, where the front of it looks close enough to an Earth vehicle, but then the rest of it is just legs. Like the front is pretty cool, with a proper bumper and a nice blue windshield. But let's do that comparison to Solus. So here's how they look together. And just for good measure, Megatronus. You do have some vehicular options for storing the sword. The first thing it wants you to do is just battering ram it up. Kind of like a Transformers Prime Wheeljack with his sword tusks, which is okay. It's not my favorite. Another option you have is to plug the hilt down there like that, and then where did the... I think the blade just goes there. Neither of these are all that great. I guess this one's the better of two evils because it's out of the way. But it's not really out of the way. It's like right there. And he rolls pretty well.
That's no moon. It's a space station. This thing apparently also has a flight mode, but you just fold the wheels in. Hover car mode. Yay.
And I want to give this vehicle mode higher marks, but like the finickiness of it, the fact that these arms should have dedicated locking positions to make them rock solid, and they don't. It drives me up the wall a little bit. It does. It's making my hair go crazy. Like, that does bring this down a bit. The fact that the bumper is supposed to tab into the arms, but it kind of doesn't. Like, it does, and then it springs right back out. And, you know, visible head and... It's like, the robot mode is really cool, but the vehicle mode does kind of let him down a little bit. I wish I could say it was unique, but obviously we have an Optimus Prime version that honestly does the vehicle mode a lot better, but with the caveat of being more expensive. And, you know, being Optimus Prime. This is a different character. So, to some people that might sway it one way or another. You might be tired of G1 Optimus Prime, or you might not care about the 13 Primes. Because let's face it, the 13 Primes have never been that interesting of characters. Because there's been no real stories about them. Like, think about it. They weren't really introduced in G1 until, like, after the movie. And even then, they were, like, legacy characters. They were lore. That's all they really are, is just lore. Like, they're not active. They're... In Transformers 1, we saw them all die before them. Like, we got flashbacks before the movie started, and they're all dead. Like, that is one of the cruxes of the film, that all the Primes are gone. Transformers Prime, I'm pretty sure they were all just lore again. I don't know about the comic books. I haven't read any of them besides Beast Wars. So, like, I feel like there's never been a story about them to make them actually interesting. Like, the idea of them, at least to me, is like, the whole crux of the toy line, and it's an interesting idea to finally get proper transforming toys of these pieces of lore that aren't just like fold into a non-head. What was that? Power of the Primes? What the hell was that? And frankly, I don't know if they're going to appeal to people who don't know who they are. Like, you really have to dive deep to find the lore about them. But, on the other side, I think they're just cool toys. I think they look cool, and they're fun to play with, and for a little kid, which is the main target audience of Hasbro, mind you, not us 30-something old fat guys in their apartments who feel like talking about toys. We're not the main demographic, surprisingly. It's kids, and I do think these appeal to kids, even if they might not understand anything more than Optimus Prime and like Megatron and a couple others. But I think this guy might be the hardest sell, because this vehicle mode might annoy a little kid enough to chuck it across the room. It probably won't break because it's strong enough plastic, but like, yeah, that's how I feel. I wanted to like it, and then I play with it and I go, oh, this is a pain in the ass. So, thanks for watching. I have some of Wave 2 pre-ordered. I have Skybite and Alchemist Prime and the big bastard no, the other one, the reissue who uses Ultra Magnus as a base, Nova Prime. I have Nova Prime and on pre-order, and besides that, there's not much else at the moment. We did just get that leak of like a 86 Megatron, Transformers 1 Starscream. I'm excited about that. And the other Devastator bits that we knew about but just hadn't seen yet. So, until next time, keep on lunar trucking. This might be an alien spaceship or an alien take on a lunar vehicle, but it definitely looks better than a Cybertruck. Mind you, dirt in the shape of a vehicle would look better than a Cybertruck. Bye.